How you doing, guys? This is BG Dino, and I am the Terradome Soldier. Welcome to my movie review show. Today's movie/review is going to be on the movie Shelby Oats. Shelby Oats is kind of special because it's made by one of YouTube's own, Chris Stuckman. He's also a YouTube content creator, and he actually made it to the silver screen. But me, BG Dino, I'm going to give you my word. I'm going to call it straight down the line. No special favorites, no special favoritism, nothing. But first, let's watch this trailer.
Why didn't you give it to the police? I needed to see it for myself.
Is now missing. She was last seen in Shelby Oaks.
There is a dark and deeply haunted history in the woods of Shelby Oaks. My sister isn't the first to go missing.
What's left in Shelby Oaks is death and rot.
Don't be afraid. You should be proud of her. Riley, please, baby. Hear me.
Shelby Oaks began with a found footage film where you see the girl by the name of Riley. She's the leader of a team, a YouTube group called the Paranormal Paranoids. And what their job is to go find different haunted areas and try to, prove that there are ghosts. So it shows Riley and her team, they're inside of a abandoned prison. And they're trying to figure out what's going on in there because they heard that there was a lot of paranormal activity there. So while they was there, they noticed it was something strange going on. Like Riley, she started to get real cold, and you can see like a cold breath come out of her, which means it was some kind of paranormal activity going on. Then it cuts away to Riley inside of a house in this wooded area. It's a cabin inside this wooded area where she can hear the three members of her team being attacked by someone or something. And she's sitting in her room, and she's sitting there, and she's like scared. And the caption said, "This was the last time anyone seen Riley alive." And then it shows her walk to the door to listen to see if she can hear anything. And then she goes to investigate. She walks out the room while the camera's still pointing at the door. The camera never moves. And then it shows her walk into darkness. And then it may show like it may be something in the back. You can't really see. You see like an aura or something, but you can't really tell what it is. Then it cuts off. And then it goes to the sister, Mia. Mia, she's actually sitting in her own house, and she's talking to someone from Netflix or one of these streaming companies. They're doing a documentary on her sister because it came up on the 12th year anniversary since she's been missing. See, the other three people from the Paranormal Paranoids, they were found murdered, but the girl Riley, she was never found. She was the only one out the four that was never found. The other three, they were murdered, but nobody never knew what happened. So then the movie goes back and forward, for like the next 25 minutes. I'm not gonna lie to you, this movie was boring. This movie had me like this. I'm just being honest with you. The movie was boring. Most of the time these ghost movies are boring. I just think that ghost movies shouldn't be considered as horror. They should be considered as a thriller/mystery, because it's like, you gotta sit there and you gotta try to remember this piece and that piece put it together. It's not a good date movie. To me, I always thought horror movies were pretty much date movies. Like you go on a date and you want to see something fun. it's not fun when you're sitting there and you don't realize that it's a mystery thriller instead of a horror movie. It shouldn't be classified as a horror movie. That's one of the main strikes I believe that was wrong with this movie. It's listed as a horror, but it should be listed as a thriller slash mystery slash drama. So anyway, they showed a cop that investigated the situation. They showed a little small part that had my man Keith David in it. That was impressive. Chris Stuckman, you had got Keith David in the movie. That's very impressive. Anyway, carry on. It gets to a part where they show Mia, she's still talking to the Netflix documentary person, and then all of a sudden she hears someone knock at her door. So she tells the lady, excuse me, she goes to the door, it's a man standing there she never seen before, and he's standing there and he has a pistol and he falls on the ground. I mean, blood, when he did that, blood squirted all over Mia. She's sitting there and she freaking out, like, what the world? All of them stunned. They don't know what's going on. And when she looked down at the man, she noticed he had a camcorder tape, a VCR tape, a little small tape in his hand. So she calls the police officers and everything, and the police get the body, and it's like later on that night. Now my thing is, in this movie right here, she didn't know the guy who killed himself. She didn't know the guy who shot himself. So it's like later on the night. I'm talking about hours later, because when it happened, it was during the daytime. Later on that night, it revealed that she actually took the tape out the guy that was laying on the ground hand, and the crazy part is she still got the guy blood on him. Come on.
That's just nasty.
Now. This movie to me had terrible writing. That just didn't make no sense. I'm trying to be nice. And I'm trying to explain this movie nicely without getting upset and without sounding too mean about it. Because I do respect Chris Stuckman, but I am going to be fair. Like I said, I'm just trying not to be mean about it. But I don't understand, why would she sit there with blood on her face of someone she didn't even know all day? We talking about hours later, it's nighttime. So anyway, she decides she's going to watch the film. Now, let me rewind back to fill you in on a few things. Mia, she is the sister of Riley. She's also married, and they asked Mia, why did she ever have kids? She said, yes, she was thinking about having kids with her husband, but when Riley went missing, it kind of changed the dynamic of everything. Her and her husband kind of been like pulling away from each other, but they still together. They is not as, as intimate as they were probably before this took place. And also, the story of Riley, when she was a kid, she had this demon that would always come and visit her in her bedroom. And the thing is, they say it would crack the window. So you mean tell me every time he came, they cracked the window? They didn't really explain that. But they explained that whenever the demon came and she saw it, the window would get a little cracking. I'm like, how many cracks is this window going to get? How many times did they replace this window? I mean, like I said, it's a lot of things in here that just didn't make sense. So anyway, the ghost, he always came and showed himself to her. They said that by the time she was the age of 17, the ghost no longer bothered Riley any longer. But Mia, she had a confession towards the end of the movie that one time when Riley was scared of the demon, Incubus, that was the demon name, Incubus. Once, she got scared of it, she was screaming so bad, so she decided to sleep in the room with Riley one particular night, and she actually seen it just that one time. She only seen it one time and one time only. Now, fast forward back to where we was at. Mia, she's watching the videotape, and she see the guy who just took himself out on her porch. It shows him. He was the one who was responsible for killing the paranormal paranoids, the other three people that was killing the crew, and he was also the one who was responsible for kidnapping Riley, or he had something to do with it. So without notice, Mia, she gets upset. She doesn't call her husband. She doesn't call the police. She is looking to the tape and it's like she just found out, and it's more like. Just takes off and drives to this abandoned prison. While she's driving, it's miles away. It's pitch black outside. She didn't wait till morning time. She didn't call the police. She didn't ask her husband. Even though her husband was kind of, pulling away from her, but it never gave him the opportunity to see if he wanted to go with her or anything. So she go out there by herself to an abandoned prison armed with a flashlight. Now this part right here, it kind of reminds me of like one of the first 3 Resident Evils, or what's the movie called? The game called Silent Hill. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. This particular part right here. So she's searching through the abandoned prison with her battery-powered flashlight. Looks all around the prison. She gets to a part where the prison has different layers and a whole bunch of cells is open on the 2nd floor. So she walks up there, she hears a little noise and she doesn't pay any mind. You know, it's an old building, so sometimes old buildings make noise. So she didn't pay any attention. She walks all the way down to like the end cell, and while she's sitting there, she noticed something, she heard something. So trying to find out, she turns around, it's a big, huge dog, and it's more like this.
Okay, who brought the dog?
So she does the right thing. She backs up, and the dog's still coming closer towards her. She's backing up. She's like on the floor. She's backing up. Then all of a sudden, the big giant arm just come out and like this and just grab the dog. So she takes off running like she's supposed to in a horror movie. Okay. She takes off running, and she runs out the prison, and she gets to her car, and she pulls up. And you're thinking she's going to leave and go home or go to a police station or do something to get some kind of help. She takes off, gets in the car, and drives to an area that's even more creepier than the damn prison. A wooded area, the wooded area where the cabin is at. She decides to go there in the middle of the pitch black darkness, and she goes snooping around inside this forest, armed with her battery-powered flashlight. So she's looking around, and she sees another one of them creepy dogs, wolf dog, whatever it is, dog from hell. They never really explained the dog, except for maybe the dog belongs to a demon or something, whatever. So while she's walking, she noticed that there's a little old house sitting in the middle of nowhere that nobody ever. So my thing is, if you've seen this house in the middle of nowhere, why the police didn't see it? They've been looking for this girl for 12 years, and nobody ever seen this house for her? So while she was looking at the house, she noticed it was an old lady on the porch. And the old lady was like, oh, did I?
I'm sorry, child. Did I frighten you, child?
She's talking about, oh, no, you didn't. You know, how you doing? What are you doing out here? She said, well, I lived out here forever. And she said, why don't you come on in? So, man, she walks over to the older lady. As she gets closer to the house, she notices this house has so much black mold. I mean, it's black mold on the front door, on the walls, on the ground, on the floor, on the doorknob.
That's just nasty.
You know, black mold is poisonous. If you're around black mold, you're actually supposed to have a hazmat suit on. You're not supposed to even be around black mold. But it's mold all over the place. I mean, it was just, yes, it was. So she decided to go inside the house with the old lady. I mean, it's mold all over the floor. Like somebody just took a bucket of mold and just threw it all over the house. Now I ain't gonna say no bucket. I'm gonna say buckets of mold and threw it all over the house. Another part that made no sense. So she noticed there was a photo album sitting on the table where the old lady, near where the old lady was at. She asked the old lady, because the old lady offered her a snack, and she said no at first. And she said, well, then again, I may take you off on a snack. So the old lady, she said, okay. So she got up and left out the room. So when she left out the room, Mia, she goes over to the photo album, and she opens the photo album up, and she see the man who took himself out and killed a friend. They see him, and he has Riley tied up, hands tied up, and they shows her that she's been pregnant several times. So it's like, you know, and the old lady, she was with the, it never explained if she was the man's mother or friend or just kidnapped him and, you know, brainwashed him, whatever, because before he took himself out on Mia's porch, he said, she finally let me go. So it never really gave an explanation if she was his parent or just somebody random she just happened to grab and possessed him or whatever. Nevertheless, the old lady, she comes in the room while Mia's looking inside the book, and Mia attacks the old lady. She doesn't physically attack her. She said, tell me where my sister at. So the old lady, just as calm, she said, okay. She goes over to the floor. She knocks this carpet off, this rug, and she has a cellar. She opens up the cellar door. She walks down the basement. She said, come on. So Mia, still armed with the battery-powered flashlight, no weapons whatsoever. She didn't have anything. She goes down the basement, and all of a sudden, she don't see the old lady any longer. But she noticed that it's like prison cells in the basement. And when she walked over the cell, she noticed that she saw somebody in one. As she got closer and, you know, really paid some attention, she found her sister Riley. And of course, when she said something to Riley, Riley, she's been down there so long, so she didn't really believe that she was seeing her sister. So when her sister said something to her, she just kind of was like blanked out. She didn't really respond until she really realized that it's real. Her sister's really there to rescue her. So once she did that, she's still kind of like in, zoo of the dope. She's been kidnapped for 12 years. So they go up the steps, they go to run out, and when she turned around, she see the old lady standing at the bottom of the steps. She just standing there. So Riley and Mia, they go run up the steps, and Mia's like, come on. She's telling Riley, come on. She trying to pull her out the front door. But Riley, she doesn't go out the front door. She go run up the steps. So Mia just stops. She's like, what is she doing? She thinking something wrong with her, but it really was nothing wrong with Riley. Riley ran up the steps because she had a baby up there. So she went upstairs to go to the crib to get her baby. And by the time she got upstairs to the crib to the baby, the old lady was up there. Her and this big giant black demon type thing. I guess that's supposed to be incubus. Whatever. This movie made no sense. So anyway, the old lady, she does some kind of spell. She was by the baby, and Riley, she tries to grab the baby. Then the old lady, she turns to Darth Vader. She lifts Riley up with using the force. She never touched her. Lifted her up in the air and threw her on the floor, and she threw Mia without touching her. So she used the force from Star Wars. I don't know. This movie was all over the place. So while she was doing that, she started doing one of the child's play ceremony, calling some kind of demon. Yo, some Saki Mela, I don't know, Saki Mela, whatever. Blah, 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 who cares? So, because it felt dead anyway. So anyway, she cuts herself and she lets the blood drip on the baby. The baby is like falling on the baby's face. And the baby don't know no better. So he's just laying there. And then she cut herself so deep, she ends up falling on the floor and she dies from bleeding to death. Then the demon that was standing behind her, big giant demon, that dude was useless. He did absolutely nothing. He just stood there. So Riley and Mia grabs the baby and they run and leave out the house and head back to Mia's real house. And it was like, that was that. And next thing you know, you see Riley sitting in the bedroom laying down and the baby's inside of a bassinet. And Mia, she's talking to a Netflix documentary person again. And they just conversating at the front door. I guess it was more like the ending pieces, and she was just telling her that, I'm glad everything's over. And the Netflix lady, she asked her, she said, well, how's your sister doing? And she said, well, it's only been one day. They didn't really have to tell us that detail because just up the way it went, we didn't have a clue if it was one day or weeks went by or anything like that. It just didn't make any sense. Some things they were telling us, it was unnecessary to even say. That's why I said this movie had terrible writing, terrible storyline, beautiful pictures. Don't get me wrong. The pictures is great. The angles, the pictures of the prison and the house and the wood area, the pictures and things like that was great. The filming was great. The storyline was terrible. The storyline didn't make any sense. So anyway, she hears some Mia. She's downstairs, but her sister Riley's upstairs. Riley, she wakes up out of her sleep and she sees the baby and she grabs a pillow, to go towards the baby like this. And Mia just happened to come upstairs and catch her. And she said, what are you doing? So she goes to Riley and she tries to push her away from the baby. When she pushed away from the baby, she pushed Riley too close to a window. And Riley falls out the window, breaks her neck, and she was dead. So then she stands there, Mia, like, oh my God, she tried to hurt the baby. Then all of a sudden the demon come behind Mia. This is at the very end. Behind Mia. So, I don't know if it was trying to say the baby was an antichrist or I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. Is the baby an antichrist or is the demon incubus? What is going on? I don't know what's going on. So the demon come up behind Mia and it's more like the demon was actually after Mia the entire time. So my thinking is, if the demon was after Mia the entire time, what was it messing with Riley for? It showed his face to Mia one time, but it harassed Riley every day. This movie did not. Like I said, the storyline is terrible. I tried my best to be real polite with this movie. I'm not gonna put anything really rude on it like I usually would do for someone else that's more experienced. I understand it's the first movie, but I just think you made a bad choice of the kind of movie. Like I said, this kind of movie, these ghost movies, they're not really horror. They're more like thriller, mystery. If you put thriller, mystery, people put their mind frame for that. This is a thriller, mystery. When you put horror, people want to be scared. People want excitement, 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 excitement. Did you hear me? Excitement. People don't want to be bored in a horror movie. You want to be excited. You want to remember it. You want to be able to talk about it as you go out the door. You know, you want something that was entertaining, not something that put you to sleep. People say, BG, was it good? Was it good enough to go see in the movies? And this is my true opinion of how I feel about it.
No, no, mm-mm, mm-mm, no, 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 hell no, 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 I refuse, no.
That's truly how I feel about it. You know, like I said, I'm not going to be extremely rude. I'm not going to put a lot of my other little skits. I'm taking it easy. So, you know, it took me 3 times to record this movie. First movie I recorded, I was too hard. And the other one, I was too nice. So this movie right here is right there in the middle. I'm like Goldilocks. So Goldilocks and 3 bears. This one right here, just right. That's all I need to say. Now, for my immediate reaction, like I said, I already done played it. My review rating is going to be 5 out of 5. Pterodon Soldiers is the best. 0 out of 5. Pterodon Soldiers is the worst. I'm going to give this movie a 1.5 out of 5.5 Pterodon Soldiers. No, I don't believe this movie is worth going to the movie to see. I'm sorry to say that. If you want me to say something true, you want me to say that, make a movie that's worth going to see in the movie theater. This movie was not worth going to see in the theater. You know, I wouldn't even think I would ever watch it again. I'm just being 100% honest. You gotta accept the criticism. Take the good with the bad. Some people may love it. I'm just giving my honest opinion of what I've seen. So like I said, my review rating is going to be a 1.5 out of 5.5 Pterodon Soldiers. Chris Stuckman, don't take this too hard. You know, somebody can be good at a million things, but it can be one thing that somebody's not that great at. Take it at that. Because the directing and things like that, that was excellent. The pictures, the way things was crisp in certain things, that was good. The storyline was just not good at all. So please don't take this as an insult. You know, I'm just being 100% honest. I gotta be honest with my fans, my supporters. You know, they here, so I have to be honest. With that being said, time for my honorable mentions. Shout out to the Dante Show Network. Shout out to June 5th. Shout out to Miss Jersey. Subscribe to her channels, Forensic 8888. Check out my buddy eBooks. Check out my buddy Thug 2000. Check out my buddy Be Humble Podcast. Be Humble is an ex-military guy. He's a veteran. He helps out veterans with different situations. And he also does a bike tour. These guys all have content on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Please check these guys out. Thank you guys. It's BG Dean, the Pterodon Soldier. Salute. I love you guys. Thank you guys for all the support. I really appreciate you guys. I made it to 20K. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys. I love you guys. And please be safe. Until the next movie, I believe is Night at Freddy's Part 2. Part 2 coming out. See you guys then. Thank you guys. Bye. And I love you.